Welcome to the Beauty in Battle podcast, where we talk about winning in marriage by waging a war. I'm Jason Benham. I've got my girlfriend / wife, Tori Benham, with me, and we are here to talk to you about how Satan tries to get you to fight face to face with your spouse, but God designed you to fight shoulder to shoulder against Satan so that you can win in your marriage. Fighting together draws you together. We cannot wait to jump in. So here we go. So we're talking communication today, and I have a 5-step communication method that's really going to help you. Did you know that? It's going to help you too, Tor.
I know. I'm really excited about it.
Are you really?
Mm-hmm.
Promise?
Before we start, let's do a quick joke.
Just one?
Or maybe two.
Okay.
Okay. What's the most effective way to remember your wife's birthday?
I have no idea.
Forget it once.
Oh.
That will do it.
There you go.
Okay. Doctor, relax, David. It's just a small surgery. Don't panic. Me. But my name isn't David. Doctor. I know. I'm David.
Yeah, I like that.
Having a doctor.
I do like that.
Talking to themselves.
Hey, I actually have one.
Okay.
What do you tell a spouse with 2 black eyes?
Oh, gosh. I know this one.
Nothing. You done told them twice.
Jeez.
There you go. How you like that?
I hate it.
Not good? Okay. All right. Well, good. You hate our jokes, and although your joke was really good this morning or this afternoon, I don't know where we are, but I do want to talk communication. Okay. Let me start with this quote, and I got this from my good buddy John, and he said this: "In the absence of communication, negativity always fills the void."
Yeah, that's so true.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In the absence of communication, negativity always fills the void.
A lot of assuming.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I told her I loved her, and if I change my mind, I'll let her know. No, doesn't work that way. Communicate.
Yeah.
That's why Jesus, and I'm going to be doing a Bible study on this tomorrow, but Jesus even told his disciples when they came up to a demon-possessed man and they couldn't cast the demon out, but they were able to cast others. And he says, this kind, which means this one's been in here a while, this kind can only come out by prayer. And then some manuscripts say prayer and fasting.
Right.
But prayer, this kind can only come out by your communication with God at a level where you know him so well that his presence is really powerful in your life.
Yeah, that's so good. Wow.
It's communication. So it's like, you've got to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
This is something men need. So wives, if you're listening to this, press pause, tell your husband to get his butt in here and start listening. And I'll start with a quote from another dude. George Bernard Shaw. He said this. George Bernard Shaw said, "The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it's taken place."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which means that you've got to over-communicate. You can't just assume things. You've got to communicate. And good communication, it's about 2 things. I'm not going to make you guess what it's about, Tor, because, I'm sitting here doing this, and I talk a lot about communication in business, and I talk a lot about communication in relationships. And I've got all these notes right here, but I'm not letting Tori look at them. So she doesn't know where I'm going or what I'm doing.
You know what people are thinking right now? Get to your point.
Get to your point. Okay. Yeah, you're exactly right. Thank you.
Okay.
Good communication is about 2 things, giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. In communication, I give of myself.
Yep.
And I'm also receiving the person that I'm listening to. So it's got to be 2 ways. And honestly, this is how affairs start.
Yeah. Where
you're giving too much of yourself to that person. Now, I'm not talking about transactions. I'm talking about emotion.
Right.
It's the telltale, husband leaves his wife for the secretary or whatever. Well, at some point, he started communicating with her about things he shouldn't be communicating with.
Right.
Like dreams, desires, hopes, passions, like whatever. It's just giving her too much of yourself.
Right.
And then she receives that, and she's receiving it. And it feels good to communicate to somebody who understands you and now knows you, right? Because intimacy is to be fully known and fully accepted.
Wow.
Now, we're going to talk about that in another podcast called Accepting Your Spouse. So I want you to pay attention for that podcast when it comes out. But to be fully known means you got to communicate. You have to communicate. So I have a very simple method that's going to help you with that. And through the years of trying to help people communicate, not that I've always been a good communicator, because oftentimes when things don't go well or whatever, I like to crawl into my little shell, cave, whatever you want to call it. And then Tori has to kind of come pull me out. She knows my love language, physical touch. All she's got to do is come put her arm around me or whatever.
Pet your head a little.
Pet my head like a little Labrador retriever. What's your love language? Tell everybody.
Quality time.
Quality time. So all I got to do is spend time with Tor.
Yep.
We should talk about love languages at some point, because I really do believe, well, first, in top 5 marriage books of all time, I think it's the best-selling marriage book of all time, is The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. So good.
It is really good.
To know your 5 love languages: acts of service, physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, and gifts.
Right.
And your love language is one of those 5. Mine would be physical touch, then close words of affirmation, Tori's quality time. But here's what's crazy. When you seek to meet the love language and speak the love language of your spouse, because that's communication, because not all communication is verbal. Right. And that's what the love languages are all about, is how to say I love you to your spouse without using the words. So you got to speak their love language. That's communication. The more you try to speak the love language of your spouse, even if it's not yours, God rewards that he begins to change your love language. Easy.
Yeah.
And
we've seen that in our relationship for sure.
Yeah.
You used to be, your 2 love languages, your 2 top were acts of service and physical touch. And mine were words of affirmation and quality time.
Yeah.
And now yours are?
A quality time. It's changed. Oh, well, physical touch and words of affirmation are still definitely huge, and I still like acts of service. But quality time, like I as I began to meet that need in Tori and communicate my love to her through quality time, I began to find myself craving quality time, which was very opposite of my nature.
Right. And because your love language is acts of service, you did a lot of things in the house. And now that's totally my love language.
Yeah.
More so than it ever was.
Yeah.
Just because I know that that's your way of communicating love to me, because that's how you receive love.
So let's talk about the 5-step communication that I've got. Okay. And I've got this little acrostic: LEARN, LEARN, learn. So the L is listen. Step 1.
Yep.
If you're going to communicate, you got to listen.
I like that that's first.
Listen. Yeah. So all of us guys are out there saying, yeah, we need to listen. And I would say, yeah, let your wife speak first. Just listen. Let her speak first. Seek to understand before trying to be understood.
Yeah.
That's huge.
That is huge.
Because if you really are seeking to understand, then you're not going to be thinking about what you're going to say next. You're actually engaged in what they're saying.
Right.
And a great rule of thumb, especially for guys: listen longer than you think you need to. Because what's really hard for dudes is that they're going to want to fix it, because we're fixers by nature. I've said this a lot. Women are sensors by nature. Men are solvers.
Right.
And so sometimes when the guy is talking and the woman is sensing something, just hold it. Yeah. Just wait. Don't tell him what you're sensing yet. And when a woman is talking and the guy knows how to solve it, just wait.
Yes, it is. It's so our nature to like process like what we're sensing verbally. And we need somebody to do that with. Like we're just sensing something. We don't necessarily know exactly what we're sensing, but we're sensing something, and we're trying to work through it and process through it verbally.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to fix that, you might actually be fixing something that by the end of the conversation, I've already I'm done, and I talked it out and realized that's actually not the thing after all.
Yes.
But that happens a lot. It's like, wait a minute, just hear me out. Let me just keep going. And then at the end of the conversation, it's like, I think it's really important to say to the other one, now, what am I not seeing? Because I actually do want to arrive at truth with this situation. And
women, if you want your husbands to listen to you, give him a chance to help you solve it at the end. Granted, there are times where it's like, okay, give him a heads up and let him know, I don't need you to solve anything. I don't need you to fix anything. I just need you to listen. So give him that heads up, because your men are fixers and solvers by nature. And if you don't give him the heads up to let him know, I don't need you to fix this, he's going to go according to his nature. That's like our dog Rocky. His nature is he's going to eat whatever you give him. And if you're sitting there at the counter making something, he's sitting right by your legs waiting. And I'm a terrible dog owner. I do give him a little bit of food because he's got dog nature in him. Right. Your husband's got the same nature. So you've got to know his desire to fix it is actually a good desire. If I'm going to go to my buddy Tim Harrell and I'm going to talk with him about something, I'm not going to Tim to talk with him about something just so he can listen. I'm going to Tim so he can help me fix it.
Right.
Right. And if Tim doesn't help me fix it, then I don't receive that as like, he's not my buddy. So guys are the same way with their wives. You're bringing me this because you need me to fix it. Right. And the way that I say I love you is fixing it.
Right.
And I promise you I can help solve this problem. Right. But if that's not what you need, give us the heads up first. We need coaching. Men need coaching and communication. And so wives, don't get frustrated at him. Just coach him. I just need you to listen. Men, on the other hand, wait and do exactly what Tori said. She's sensing something. She's going to talk through it and she might solve it herself. Let her. Don't jump in and just try to solve it.
Yeah.
And then women, if you do need something solved, then coach him through it and say, okay, I want you to help me figure this out, but can you let me talk it out first?
Exactly.
And at the end, we can figure it out. And your husband, you've now given him proper boundaries and he'll be like, all right, I got this. And he is going to listen intently because you've given him a problem to solve. It's really, really powerful to do that. So when we're talking about listening, that's the first step in our 5-step process.
Listen.
Yep. Listen. Okay. That's the L in the LEARN method, LEARN. Okay. Listen. Step number 2, empathize. Empathize. This is where you get into their world and you try to feel what they feel.
Yes. That's so good.
Like you can really do that.
It's such human nature. If what you're talking about has something to do with you, you want to defend yourself. You want to make sure you want to be understood.
Yeah.
Right. But empathy is putting yourself into the other person's shoes.
Yeah.
What do you feel? I want to understand how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And that is so important because it's so, like what you said earlier, seek to understand before being understood.
Yeah. And when somebody...
Not human nature.
Yeah. And when somebody fully understands you, you feel connected.
Yes.
If you're telling someone a problem and they're like, I totally get that. I would hate to be in those shoes. Wow, that stinks.
Yeah.
You feel connected to that person.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to not talk too openly with certain folks that you know, they're going to empathize with you and all this. Next thing you know, you're having feelings for someone you shouldn't be having feelings for.
And I know for me personally, and I know you as a fixer have felt this before, is there is such a tendency to want to be the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Like I need to take the other side because
help balance it out.
To help bring balance.
Yeah.
But a lot of times when we do that, we don't show the other person that we're on their side, like that we're trying to understand their perspective first. But because we're so, or, you know, for me personally, I'm like, wait, you're out of balance because you're not seeing the whole picture. But because I'm, you know, standing back a little further, I can see the whole picture. And so I feel this really strong need to make sure I tell, but it's like, I have to do this with the kids all the time.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it.
It's like, I just want to make sure that they see the other side.
Yeah.
But I really have to do a better job of listening and trying to understand exactly what they're trying to communicate. Yeah. And then, you know, after taking that in, then you start to build this trust that you're on, you know, you're for them, that you want to help them and that you totally can understand why they would feel that way. You would feel that way. You've felt that way before. That's how you show empathy. Oh my goodness, I totally can relate. I know exactly what you're feeling. Yeah, that's awful, right? But then you're building the trust to at some point, and maybe not even in that conversation, but in another conversation to say, you know what I was thinking? I wonder if, you know, if there's this perspective that we can think about too.
Yeah. And you just got to remember, the goal of communication is not to make a point. When it comes to communication in marriage, the goal of communication is connection. You are there to connect.
Such an important thing to remember. The
empathy is the thing that will draw that connection. So then once you've listened and you're empathizing, okay, at the same time, we're moving on to the step 3 is ask questions. You need to clarify to make sure you understand. And the best question to ask is, what do you need? That's what you can ask right from the jump. Now, if you've been married almost 21 years like us, then you might not need to ask that question up front. Like I kind of know what Tori needs when she starts talking. What she needs me to do is shut up and just let her talk. But there does come a time it's like, okay, so what can I do? Like, what do you need right now? What do you need? And it's asking questions.
Yeah.
And if you're truly interested in what they're saying, like, and you're not thinking about the next thing you want to say, and you're empathizing and you're really listening, you're going to have plenty of questions.
And even if you just ask yourself that question, what do they need right now? If you just pause long enough to say, what does Jason need? What am I hearing him say? What is he really needing? Because it's not like, I know for us, it's not like I'm really going to say, so what do you need? It's really is a more of a discerning, okay, given the information that I have right now, what does Jason need most?
Yeah, that's good. I like that. So that's the first 3 steps. You're listening, you're empathizing, you're asking questions. You're either asking questions of your spouse or which would be clarifying questions, or you're doing what Tori just said, where you're asking questions to yourself saying, like, what do they need?
Yep.
Which is really good. Okay. Well, that leaves us to the 4th step in the LEARN method. LEARR. That's responsibility. So you take responsibility. Now, there's 2 types of people in the world.
Yep.
Those who own their part of a problem and those who don't. Those who take responsibility and those who don't. And modern psychiatry calls the people who don't take responsibility as people who have a character disorder.
Yep.
So it's taking responsibility, because oftentimes our communication is about something that happened.
Right.
And you've got to take responsibility. So when it comes to conflict, and now we got to communicate about that, one of the first things that you do is you got to own up to your spot.
Yep.
Even if you think that you're 100% accurate, then get alone with God and ask him, how could you have helped avoid this? It's taking responsibility. And also in communication, it's taking responsibility for the fact that you need to communicate.
Or taking responsibility to forgive.
Yeah.
If your spouse is coming to you and asking for forgiveness for something.
Yeah.
You have a responsibility to forgive.
Yes. And it's being responsible all the way around, all 360 degrees. So if it's a forgiveness issue, take responsibility and own it. If it's you haven't talked in a while, take responsibility and own it. If it's something you've said or done, take responsibility for your part in the problem. But if you want truly good communication, then you better start taking responsibility of it. And the 5th step, N, never undervalue what the other person says.
It's good.
Never undervalue it. And I am bad with this because I'm very sarcastic. So Tori can be pouring her heart out or whatever, and I might bust on something that she said. And what I've done is I've undervalued what she said in that moment.
Yeah.
You know, she may be talking about like, here I am at my office and I just closed a big deal and made some good money or whatever. And it was great. And it's like this big thing. And then I'm coming home and she's upset because Allie opened the box of mac and cheese and all the noodles went out on the ground, you know, and she's talking. And if in that moment I undervalue that situation because it's just mac and cheese on the ground, you could just sweep it up. I mean, you could have just swept it up. If the minute you do that, communication stops.
Yeah.
Connection stops. And that can't happen. You just can't do it. So never undervalue.
I like that.
So
very helpful. LEARN.
Listen,
empathize,
ask questions, take responsibility, and never undervalue what the other person says or feels. And that is going to help you communicate. Do not let the truth be known of having absent communication, because if communication doesn't happen, negativity fills the void. Don't let that happen. Over communicate utilizing this method.
I love it.
Okay, so Tor.
I feel like I learned a lot.
Yeah, you did. Very well played.
Okay.
Right.
Would you rather? Are you ready? Would you rather sleep on the dirty concrete for a month or sleep in a pigsty for a week?
Pigsty for a week, dirty concrete for a month. Pigsty for a week.
100%. So you and I are on the same page.
Easy.
For sure on these.
That's easy.
Like, get it done. One and done. 1 week and done. Not a month on the concrete.
Well, let's ask our listeners what they would do. What would you do? Wait, I'm not hearing anything.
You're listening so well.
I am. I've learned. All right. That's it for communication. Thank you for hanging out with us on Beauty and Battle. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, share this with somebody that you think it'll help. in the meantime, what should I say here? I don't know. I don't know how to end it. Let's just end it.
Let's just end it.
See you next time.
See you guys.